If life lessons came with a price tag, my tuition bill would be the highest in the class. To sit in this specific classroom, it cost me exactly 10 million US dollars. It also cost my father 20 years of his freedom. And for me, it cost me my entire ego. Everything I thought made me, me. Sounds tragic, right? But put away the tissues. I'm not here to throw a pity party. I'm here to tell you a joke. And the punchline of that joke is the person I used to be just a few years ago. If you had met me back then, you would have hated my guts. Honestly, looking back, I want to travel back in time and slap myself in the face. I was born in the 80s, the sweet spot of globalization. I hit what Warren Buffett calls the ovarian lottery. I was born into a family that wasn't just comfortable. We were wealthy. I was the poster child for success. I was the guy your parents compared you to. Not because I was smart, but because my starting line was everyone else's finish line. I graduated college and parachuted directly into a Fortune 500 company. You know that feeling? It was like playing a video game with the cheat codes turned on. For the first 2 or 3 years, I pretended to work. I did the grind. But then, the company got a new managing director. And as luck would have it, this boss was an old acquaintance of my dad. They weren't best friends, but in those circles, there's an unspoken code of mutual respect. So, magic happened. By the time I was 26, while my peers were stressing over rent and staring at Excel spreadsheets, I was pulling in $200,000 a year. And my workload? It basically vanished. It was obvious. The boss was taking care of me to get cozy with my father. I wasn't an employee. I was a glorified mascot, a leverage chip for future favors. Back then, I lived like a pig, a happy, blissfully ignorant pig. Late for work? No one cared. After work? That was my show. Bars, parties, chasing girls. This absurd dopamine-fueled lifestyle went on for 3 or 4 years. And the worst part? I thought I earned it. I actually thought I was a business genius, a networking god. Until one day, the music stopped. My boss, my protector, got caught in some dirty deal with a supplier and went to prison. The umbrella collapsed. I immediately learned what it feels like when the gravy train derails. I was the first one on the layoff list. But back then, the water in my brain hadn't dried up yet. I was arrogant. Fired? Who cares? I have money. I have connections. I'll start my own empire. The next day, I registered my own company, and reality gave me my first slap in the face. I thought I had deep connections from my corporate days. Turns out, those people didn't know me. They knew the platform I stood on, or they knew my father. Without those two things, I was a joke. My little company barely scraped by. But I didn't care. Why? Because I still had my ace in the hole, my dad. Then came the real avalanche. Even though my father had been retired for years, his accountant flipped. He started exposing financial fraud, digging up old debts. Like a line of dominoes, all the gray, shady operations from my father's past were dragged into the sunlight. I was pulled into the interrogation room. I sat there, staring at investigators who looked like hawks. The good news? They proved I was innocent. Why? Because I was too useless. I was too busy being a happy pig to be involved in the family's complex business. The bad news? To clean up this mess, I had to vomit up everything I had eaten. I liquidated stocks. I handed over cash. I sold properties. Assets that couldn't be sold quickly, I just handed over to the authorities. It felt like carving pieces of my own flesh and handing them back to the universe. All in all, it took a few months. I paid back $10 million. My father was sentenced to nearly 20 years. I was 37. I had 2 kids who were supposed to go to elite private schools. I had a household that was used to solving every problem with a credit card. Overnight, the money was gone. The mountain I leaned on crumbled. Throw in the global pandemic, a failing economy, and my wife's sudden health issues. The pressure felt like a hydraulic press crushing my spine. But I'm not sitting here today to give you the satisfaction of watching a rich kid fail. I want to talk about perspective. If I could turn back time, and if Seneca, that great Roman Stoic philosopher, was riding shotgun in my sports car back then, what would he have said to me? I think that old man in the toga would have popped a grape into his mouth, looked at my smug face, and laughed. He would say, "Hey kid, you think that money in your pocket is yours? You're wrong. That is just a deposit fortune left with you. She didn't give it to you. She loaned it to you. And like any loan shark, she can call in the debt at any moment with interest." This is the core of Stoicism and the part that hurts the most. The loan shark, nature of fortune. I mistook luck for skill. I mistook temporary for permanent. That arrogance made me incredibly fragile. So, if you are doing well right now, in this chaotic, uncertain world, even if you don't have $10 million to lose, I suggest you listen to the 3 pieces of advice I bought with that money. This isn't success guru fluff. This is a survival guide from a survivor who crawled out of the pit. Advice number 1. Before the other shoe drops, rehearse the crash in your head. The Stoics call this Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Sounds depressing, right? But it saves lives. The old me only thought about what car to buy next. If I had today's wisdom, I would have woken up every morning and asked, what if the company folds tomorrow? What if my dad is gone? If my bank account hits 0, can I still survive? This isn't about giving yourself anxiety. It's about desensitizing yourself. It helps you break the dopamine addiction. Dopamine makes you chase the high of now. Crisis awareness builds the anti-fragility of forever. When you realize everything you own could vanish in a second, you don't just cherish it more. You stop freezing up when the disaster actually hits. Advice number 2. In a volatile world, don't just build a portfolio. Build a craft. This is the lesson that stung the most. When I paid that $10 million fine and stood in my empty mansion, I wasn't just scared of being broke. I was terrified because I realized I had less job security than a barber, or a chef, or a plumber. Seriously. If the economy collapses, my so-called strategic thinking and resource management skills are worthless. But a barber? As long as he has scissors, he eats. A chef? As long as there's fire, he survives. I'm not saying you need to quit your job to become a chef, unless you want to. I'm saying you need a hard skill that belongs strictly to you. Not your platform, not your connections, not the economic cycle. Coding, writing, fixing cars, anything that solves a specific problem. Seneca calls this wealth that can swim with you out of a shipwreck. When the ship sinks, only the people who can swim survive. The guys in first class who can't swim? They sink the fastest. Don't be the guy caught naked when the tide goes out. Use your money to invest in your brain and your hands, not just in invisible financial products. Advice number 3. When the disaster hits, stop praying. Start moving. This sounds like a cliche, but it is the hardest thing to do. When my father was arrested, what was my first reaction? I tried to pull strings. I tried to use money to make it go away. That was weak thinking. I was running around like a headless chicken, listening to every expert I could find. It was a waste of time. Stoicism teaches us to prepare for the worst, but act for the best. Here is the brutal truth. In this world, nothing can save you except your own actions. Money is a lubricant, sure, but in the face of the law or life and death disasters, it's often just a number. When the crisis hits, layoffs, bankruptcy, family tragedy, the first thing you do is cut the emotional noise. Accept that the bad thing has already happened. Then ask yourself, what cards do I have left in my hand? And how do I play this terrible hand to the best of my ability? It's a serious topic, and it's a technical skill. So, here is the bottom line. I used to think life was about constant addition, adding wealth, adding fame, adding status, until I was 37 and fate forced me to do some subtraction. Only then did I see the true colors of life. I don't have a get-rich-quick success story for you, because frankly, I'm still walking that road myself. But what I do have is a very thick, expensive book titled The Collection of My Mistakes. In this world, success is hard to copy. But mistakes leave a trail. If you want to hear more expensive lessons, or if you want to see how many ways a human being can self-destruct, please subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.